Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Meta-Two NXT AfterShow. Here with your host, the best duo ever. But I'm Katrina, host and creative in Cat We Trust, and I am here with my twin, Shay. How are you today?
I'm fighting for my life, and the person I'm fighting against is pollen. So, I'm doing the best I can.
No, I definitely, pollen has been a battle that I've been fighting for years, so I definitely hear you on that one. Uh, how did you enjoy this week's NXT?
I liked it. I feel like there were some very secret good matches that came out of it. And I like where I see certain storylines going. So I will say I enjoyed it for that reason.
Yeah, definitely some solid stuff happening. So let's jump right into it. And so we start off with the return officially, match return of Mr. Wesley, who has been gone for a little bit. When he got injured, we wasn't sure how long he was going to be gone. And so I feel like, he kind of jumped right in it, right back into, what he is known for being one of the ones at NXT that's a bit, I feel like we appreciate it, Wesley, but, you know, definitely underrated type of wrestlers on NXT. It did start off with a big net, basically highlighting his journey back into the ring. And, on his way, you know, going to the ring, he was applauded. I'm guessing for his journey back, but also because he basically has had, a bit of some time gone. And so Ivor did join commentary and, to watch, just as he's kind of involved right now with Josh Briggs, who Wesley would be facing. And so this was a pretty solid match. I thought Wesley looked absolutely fantastic. It didn't even look like he might have been hurt. Um, he was just right on it, right on it, right on it. He definitely was able to sell for Josh Briggs as well, which I think made Josh look a lot stronger as well. And he looked super like healthy and back to the way he should be, and so that's always good to see. Um, there was a moment where Wes knocked Josh outside with like a cartwheel kick, and then he like drop kicked him into Ivar, which I was like, all right, that was pretty solid. But Wes would win this with a diving corkscrew senton to win his first match back. However, even with this win, Josh and Ivar was still brawling after the bell. And so Wesley, kind of dived into both of them, and then they showed Femi laughing at the three of them from the stage. And so I guess just setting all this up. And so, what was your thoughts on this matchup?
My thoughts was, does Wesley know that he just came back? Because the way he wrestles, it's like nothing is different whatsoever. He's right back in there, as you said. Like, even like I feel like he was pulling out some new moves too. I'm like, okay, let him know. It don't stop. It don't stop. I'm just happy for him to be back. I think he is an exceptional wrestler, and as George said, the greatest NXT North American champion of all time. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Um, I obviously I wasn't like thinking, oh, he's gonna lose. There was no way that Wesley was gonna lose his first match back. And Josh Briggs, what I will say about him is I kind of like, it feels like every week he's figuring out what he wants his character to be. And you see more and more of it added to him in the way his swagger is, the way he talks and the way he moves, and his ring gear keeps changing. Like, he's really trying to figure himself out. And I like it. It's a nice journey. And I like tonight, like, he came out and he just had this like cocky look in his face. I was like, Josh, oh my God. Like, Yeehaw! I love this. You know, so I definitely was feeling that. Ivar, like, first of all, Josh, why were you touching Ivar? He had every right to have an attitude with you because why were you touching him at the commentary table? Rude. Don't put your hands on people. Like, just don't. um, this can be a fun fatal four way because I feel like that's definitely where we are headed. Like, it's the writing's on the wall. I'm excited. Like, I really, that's all I can say. I'm excited.
Uh, yeah, I do think it's probably gonna be a fatal four way too, and Wes, who is like the small, he's like the small fry to the rest of the three, in that regard, and so, but the whole yeehaw was funny, too. You saying like he got a little something something together, he got a little something something together, but yeah, I definitely do think, and as to the answer to that question, I don't know. I don't know. I can't even answer that. I don't know why it was done last week and not this week. But I did think it was a solid matchup. Um, and so this now brings us to our next matchup, which was a NXT Underground match between Shayna Baszler, who was accompanied by Lola Vice, versus Carmen Petrovic, who was, accompanied by Natalia. And so, NXT did show some highlights from the NXT Underground match last week before this. And this was all right, I guess, not like terrible. Um, Carmen tried really hard, to make a statement if she wanted to, but it I feel like it is what it is in this regard. There was a moment Shayna did trap Carmen's left arm under like the metal frame underneath the ring and kind of stomped in it, and then she kept focusing basically on that arm. Um, and even though Carmen did try to do what she did in this matchup, Shayna would do her through the clutch to get a submission and basically would win this matchup. She didn't seem happy with Lola's dancing and taunting after the match, and to be fair, Shayna, I don't care for it either. And Natalia, tried to tell Carmen, on, taking some offense. And she like basically knocked a man out backstage, just like a roundhouse kick, and I was just like, I mean, okay. I don't personally, did we need the match? Probably not. I feel like they put Lola. I feel like they're putting Lola, in matches to make her, I guess, still in like to make her be, I guess, fresh in people's minds. But I feel like what are we getting now from this season? NXT Underground matches, like okay, the first time fine, and while I would say with Shayna, like it's been a minute since we saw her look that aggressive. And, she's supposed to be one of the few up there that's legit, like a MMA type fighter, then she should be looking legit, neither am I. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't really know why we're still getting these matches, but here we are. I don't know if we need to do any more with this, like, NXT Underground story, because I feel like whatever they're trying to do, I'm not really getting what it is. Like, they're trying to flesh out here. First match, fine, but it's like, all right, you had the other two members of this not even tag team fight each other for what? What was the purpose? We already knew Carmen was losing as soon as you put her against Shayna. Like, and realistically, like, and this is not even taking like her style of fight aside. Like, out of the two, are we playing? Like, clearly Shayna was going to win that, and so it was just like, what is the purpose? But to have more Lola time on TV, and I don't know how I feel about necessarily her being on TV more because I'm just not a fan. But whatever. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, there wasn't really much to take from it. I think that Carmen definitely kept up. What I will say is I really loved her entrance. Like, and I don't know if maybe I haven't paid attention to it in the past, but I love it. It's so Kill Bill-esque, and it's kind of like a perfect cherry on top because I feel like she resembles Uma Thurman like a lot, especially when you add in the sword. So I was like, oh, that was cool. I really liked it. It was a cool touch. Yeah, but Carmen kept up as best she could. I don't think anyone thought she was gonna be able to topple Shayna. But she put up a good fight. She tried her hardest to stay in there. I loved the ending. I'm sorry. The taunting with the hips, and then Shayna getting all like, but Shayna, why you acting like that? Because girl, you was the same one sat down ready for Rhea to plant them cheeks. Don't act like you scared of the cheeks now, Shayna. I mean, it sounds a little crazy saying it because like I'm talking to myself a bit, but don't act like you afraid of them cheeks now, girl. Don't switch up now. We're not gonna do that. But I found that to be hilarious. Lola is growing on me every week. And I think this is just something to kind of like keep them occupied. I was a little bit I was a little bit confused as to why Carmen wasn't in the North American championship running as opposed to this. But I mean, I guess this is their way to just, get keeping her on TV. Same thing with Lola. Because it's kind of like I don't feel like I could see her beating Roxanne. So it's like, where does she fall? What do we, so it's kind of like she and Carmen now, just by association, are in this weird middle area of just them trying to figure out something to do with them in the meantime while everything else is happening around them. Yeah, but I mean, the match was what it was, and I feel like the right person won, especially after how she kicked Shayna in the head. It kind of made her look a little weak, so we needed to get her lick back because we're not gonna let her looking crazy in NXT. Absolutely not.
Yeah, just to your comment about Rhea's cheeks. To be fair, I understand why Shayna's like, you know what, Rhea, do what you need to do. I cannot say the same, like, and I love you some Rhea, you guys know. I feel like, hey, I feel like you guys know. I am a Rhea girl to the end. To the end. I am a Rhea girly. Whatever the name is for Rhea fans, I am that. So I can understand why she would want Rhea and not Lola. Lola, you're just there. Like, see, Rhea is these things without even trying to be these things. So that's Lola. But yeah, I guess we'll see. That's not what I'm asking for, but whatever. We're gonna unfortunately be stuck with more Lola Rice until they decide that she's not probably. I don't know. It's kind of how I felt like when they were trying to put Nikita in my face, and I kept saying, "You guys, she can't wrestle. She can't wrestle. She can't wrestle." Then she kept getting hurt, and I was like, "See, yeah." And while I'm all for, if that's the vibe you're on, that's the vibe you're on. But I feel like if she's supposed to be a threat, I now can't take that seriously. I just can't. But I also think she needs a lot of work in regards. But whatever. With that being said, let's go to our next matchup, which was the No Quarter Catch Crew versus Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Agawe. I'm probably pronouncing that mad wrong, and so I'm going to stick Tyreek because I don't know mess up people's names more than once if I mess up his name. And so this match basically got set up, with No Quarter Catch Crew basically mocking them backstage. And yeah, it set up this match. It was also announced that Channing Stacks would be the guest referee for this match, and so it seemed like he was fast counting throughout the match. Like he was trying really hard to kind of help them out in this. And it was noted on commentary that he earned his officiating license, and I'm like, all right, we're playing games like this. I'm gonna stop these shenanigans. What officiating license did you get, my guy? And so basically, with all of the stuff happening in this, Stacks again trying to basically count fast, and there was an argument with Charlie Dempsey, and Stacks would kind of shove him into like Tyreek's arm, and they kind of did like a surprise roll up for a really, really, really fast 3. And so Tyson and Tyreek would win this matchup. They did get the win. I'm not sure if what's necessarily the point of it, aside of maybe getting them some more time. If anything, them saying like Shannon got his license to do this and then he was fast counting. If anything, this was just for some fun part, like something fun rather than any. I couldn't take it like super seriously. Miles also barely got anything in the match. So I wasn't really sure why he was like, it's a tag match. You're not really doing anything. But yeah, this was basically how it went. It would also be said that No Quarter Catch Crew would agree to put the Heritage Cup on the line next week against Tony D'Angelo. And later on, because this is what the Don likes to do, he basically kidnapped Damon Kemp and Miles Ford. And so making it that Charlie is the only person that can defend the Heritage Cup. And I'm like, have we not learned, Tony? Like, I'm going to need Tony to stop doing these things where you're picking up people, you're kidnapping people, you're taking people to restaurants, taking people to the bridges, you're doing all types of stuff, and this has not worked for you. I feel like if you have not learned nothing from doing these things, it's that it doesn't work for you. You do this when it works. This has not worked. And so, yes, George, just to the parking lot, it's been a little bit of break with the parking lot. It has been. It went from the parking lot to the locker room. But we're now back to saying that the parking lot is once again a dangerous place to be. But also, I'm not understanding why Tony has not learned. My guy, it has not worked. It has not worked for nobody. And yet you keep doing these things like you're supposed to be the head guy in charge. If I'm part of your squad and you do this and a person still beats you, I'm going to look at you like, I'm not following you personally. Personally, I'm going to have to leave the squad. But, this is where we are. I guess this is going to set up this between Charlie and Tony. And I don't know if this is helping Charlie get more character, because I do think he can wrestle. It's just something is clearly lacking character-wise. I don't know. It's something. Something's not, being the way it should be. But what were your thoughts on this match?
My God, the mute button. Roderick, I want to know who your fourth pick was, just for research purposes. Now I want to know. Obviously Tony's gonna win. I just don't see him taking back-to-back big losses. I mean, I guess, but I really cannot. I'm stressed out. I really want the best for Charlie. But what I will say is, because I do agree with what you're saying about, they're feeling like there's something, not all the way there. But I do see the growth in him talking wise, especially tonight. He seemed like, for me, felt like the most self-assured and just like confident he's ever been with his delivery. In the little backstage promo that he did right before, Tony did what he did. And I think that's cool that he's stepping up to the plate with all the stuff that has been thrown at them. Like, they've had their whole system shaken up. And now he's suddenly now having to be the mouthpiece, out of nowhere. And I think that he's, doing pretty good. Like, more than I expected. I was like, oh no, I was scared. But he's really stepping up to the plate. I'm just sad that, he's probably going to lose to Tony, right when I feel like he's starting to kind of get his footing a bit. But I also feel like they've nerfed the heck out of Miles and Damon in comparison to him, which I hate. So it's a lot of hoopling and hollering. And you know what? Shout out to Tony D. What I will say, you bringing the feeling back. Violence in the parking lot, you bringing the feeling back. Thank you for that, Tony. But yeah, no, this match was kind of like whatever. It didn't really do a lot for me, honestly, but story progression. So there's that.
The piece. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, basically, yes, in the parking lot, everybody know, like, was it a year ago? The parking lot was like, everybody knew everything went down in the parking lot. I feel like anything you wanted to happen in the parking lot in NXT, it happened. Like, it felt like if we ever went to the NXT parking lot, we had to bob and weave. It was those type of vibes. Like, you had to be on your A game. And so, yes, I do appreciate a good bringing it back to the basics. But I still need him to get it together, because if you have not learned about doing crime to get what you want, it has not worked. You keep taking people to bridges and stuff, and it's just like, Tony, maybe talk to Joe Pesci. He can give you some tips. Something. I don't know. Talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. It's not you. But this now leads us to our first women's match. First women's match that was not NXT Underground. And so this was Ariana Grace versus Michin, formerly Mia Yim. And so this, I don't know. Um, basically Chelsea Green and Ariana Grace was kind of back in the locker room, and then there was like they seemed like they got along, but Gigi didn't seem too happy about this. And I guess this was kind of basically semi set up for this matchup. It was all right. I felt like Ariana did what Ariana does. Um, I do think you know this is something Ariana has to do really well as far as being very animated. She's also so on it with like how she reacts to things, and so that was cool. There was a moment Ariana had Michin on the ropes with like an armbar, but then Michin was able to kind of do a power bomb in return. She also Ariana got like a stack up pin, but the but the referee basically saw her using like her hands on the rope, and so even with Ariana trying really hard, do this in regards to like I guess striking and power, Michin definitely kind of was better in this regard, and so she would win with her each defeat. And so there were some moments I did feel like one, the match was a bit quick, and there was times I felt like there was some timing that were seemed a bit off. And she didn't really like. There were some things that just kind of missed there, and I'm not, you know, I don't know. I feel like she should have won the match because if you're trying to make her be serious for the Women's North American Championship, but also it shouldn't have been really a squash. It kind of felt like it was a bit of a squash to an extent. And also, Ava did announce the top 12 and advancing to the qualified matches. Basically, the women's combine was basically testing speed, power, and conditioning. And so then out of the 20, they announced the 12, which is like, I mean, okay, whatever. But what were your thoughts on this matchup?
What I will say is I noticed improvement from Ariana. I feel like she was moving a bit quicker. She did a snap suplex that I felt was like picture perfect at one point, which I really loved. Um, yeah, like I was a little gagged at seeing the progress with Ariana because I feel like when she came back from the injury, you could see she wasn't fully all the way back, and I feel like this is the most back I've seen her be since returning from her injury. Um, yeah, I mean, I felt like Meacham was definitely going to win. I just wish that they had a little bit more time. As you said, like it just felt really quick, and I feel like Ariana Grace, yes, she is a parody. Like she's definitely a character, like a jokey character, but there's a way that they can definitely somewhere in the middle it to really still have her seem like a real threat. And I hope that they do find that balance because I think that she is a great character. She's so funny. Her interactions with Chelsea Green were like one of the highlights of the night for me. I want them to be a tag team at this point. Like the chemistry was just bouncing off the walls. But yeah, I just want them to take her a little bit more serious. So I agree with you on that. But I'm happy for Michin because she's getting some time. I'm all for people coming down to NXT, trying it again, having full outruns, not just, oh, I'm here to take a loss. I'm here to put somebody over. I'm here. I want them to have runs. Some people, especially the ones that I feel like didn't get a fair shot in NXT. So I'm happy for Michin. And if she ends up being the, inaugural NXT Women's North American Champion, I'm not mad at it. I really am not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I guess we'll see. We'll see. This does bring us to the Supernova Sessions where Noam Dar will challenge Trick Williams, and so Lash Legend basically revealed a picture of Noam Dar's foot under the rope and the matchup, and then called Trick's title reign fraudulent. Uh, Trick did not seem amused by any of this, but he accepted the match with Noam Dar. As he asked Lash Legend to kind of reveal the relationship to the world, Noam Dar will instead do a back elbow and kind of had him laid out in the ring. I'm not even, sure what the purpose necessarily of this was, just because I feel like there might have been a better way to set this up if we were going to do it. I just I don't know. I just felt like there was nothing much to get from this. Trick did also say he felt it was a waste of time, and I kind of, to an extent, agree in regards to, I just don't know why we had to do all this to get this title match. I guess. I did also, like, Lash Legend kind of called Trick babe, and then he said something about, like, Tricky Willy Wonka. And Javon Evans at some point will, call them out for attacking Trick in the parking lot. But here we are. Trick's challenger will be Noam Dar. But I don't see this. I don't know. They're supposed to try to make this last to Battleground. I don't know how they can do that if they're not doing some more. They got to do something better than the segments, I feel like, to keep it in track, to make this be. You can't go from having, Ilya Dragunov from being champion, and there's all this extra with the thing between him and Carmelo, and then all this for him to finally win it, and then you go to, where it's like, it doesn't seem like a serious competitor for him, I feel, and that's kind of weird to me. It's like, and this is no shade to Noam Dar at all, it's just, when you think of how everything was supposed to be with Trick getting out of Carmelo's shadow, and Carmelo leaving and going to, SmackDown, and then you have your Dragunov also leaving, but he had this extra with the match. It just, I don't know. There's probably better ways you could have set this up, but that's just my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on this segment?
I was gooped and gagged. Listen, the tea that was coming out. First of all, Lash, girl, as Jakara said, stand up. All that. It's a special guest. Like, girl, if you don't stop. But I get it. I kind of like this. And if they become like a duo, I think that's cute. I'm not even going to hate on it. I would think it'd be cute. But I love, like, Lash with, the metaphor. I just think that they're so interesting. They're so entertaining all together. So I would be sad for them to, like, break up, because I feel like that's where it's going, all because of Tricky. All because of Tricky Willy Wonka. I can't believe you. I'm so upset. But why did he say that? And what are you talking about? You're not the daddy. Excuse you. First of all, I'll be really pissed. Lash, you needed to snap, because he was putting you on blast, putting your business out there. You should have been like, don't put my business out there. No, you wasn't saying that. You were just letting him just keep on putting your business out there. Girl, you in love, clearly. Noam, I'm glad you got your lick back, because he was definitely embarrassing you real bad. I wish you would have shared your information about the foot under the rope before the match with Dragunov. That would have been great, but here we are. But yeah, no, I think this is cool. And honestly, I feel like the last time that Trick and Noam had like a match, I feel like that was one of Trick's best matches. So I think that Noam is definitely going to pull a really, really fun match out of Trick again. I think it's a good, this is his first defense, right? This would be his first defense, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good defense. I think Noam's going to give him a really, really fun match, just to start off his reign for sure. Because he gives it up in the ring. And I just wanted to comment on something that George asked a bit earlier. I was like so proud. Like, they ate up. And Lyra, you would have had the best women's match if it wasn't for Io. But Io is not coming up. She's not going to come up off that crown too easy. So that's different. But Dragunov definitely had match of the night, as I knew he would. Killed it. I was so proud. I was like, look at them doing their big one. Oh my god. So yeah, that was my thought. What did you think? What were your thoughts on those matches? Because they killed it.
Dragunov moved to the show that I don't really particularly like to watch, because it's just too long sometimes, and sometimes a girl want to get her rest. But with that being said, my God, Ilya Dragunov is just, I was like, oh, alternate king is thriving, as you should. Thriving. And so I am sad. I am sad he's no longer on Tuesdays. For me to tell y'all how I feel about him. But now the Monday crowd can see just how great our king is. And so never. Stop the negativity. No. Never. Um but yeah, no, I thought they did good. I thought they did good. I definitely like I'm not you have like Lyra going with the I feel like with like Lyra and Becky, it was like you already had that thing with them, and so it's like I feel like she was semi prepared already. But like Ilya Dragunov is just like you're going against like Ilya is more hard hitting, I feel, and Ricochet is more quick and everything, and so you have people like that, and you're like, okay, all right. But I thought he did well. I thought he definitely did. This is what very happy. I think at some point, regards to him and Gutner, that maybe, and I do think at some point he might even join them. I think that was why they got rid of the other guy. And I know he has a name, and I'm my bad guy from Imperium, or former guy from Imperium. Um, but I didn't pay attention to either one of you guys. That wasn't Gutner, to be fair. And so name is not coming to me. My bad. But name is not coming to me at the moment. But I do think they're probably going to add him at some point. It might start off with them, or maybe they'll join together, and then it'll come to a point where they have to kind of go to blows. Guy from Imperium, just because I don't like the level of care is low. Um, no offense to him, just it's very low care. Um, but I think even if they start off together, it might very well be them starting together, and then they will probably, because I feel like Ilya Dragunov being like a lackey, I don't get those vibes. I don't get the vibe that he's going to be falling in line. Not my turn at King. Like Gutner's cool enough, but you're not him. And so I feel like if he joins first, they will probably at some point fight, because it's gonna be like I can't be under you, or it might start off with them fighting and then he might like join for a little bit. I don't see Dragunov being somebody who's just part of a group. That doesn't, unless they just change his character completely, which would devastate me. I just don't see him being in a group for long like that, to that level. As far as being in a group, like the way like Imperium was just there. I feel like Imperium made Gutner look extra. Like, and this is again not shade to them, but let's be real. So I do think at some point it will probably be, uh, um, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like my thing with the draft is as long as people stay on their brands, I'm alright. Like when I start, don't do drafts, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, so why was we having a draft? That's the only problem I'm gonna really have with it. Like I guess we'll see how this works out in a few weeks with the draft. But if it's like we did a draft and we made such a big deal about it, and then it's right back to well, whatever, as you should be. I'm there with you. Um, then it kind of defeats the purpose of having a big draft if you're gonna have them be on all the shows. But I do think at some point he'll be appearing. I thought that as soon as I saw him, Giovanni leave. I was like, oh, they put. I knew that's where he was going. And when he went to Raw, I was like, oh, I knew it. I just survived. But yeah. So now let's get to the next matchup, which was Kalani Jordan versus Fallon Henley. And so I guess this is her official, like really, really turning. And so Kalani did question Fallon why she turned on Thea in the locker room, and it kind of basically led them to basically come into blows or fighting. And so we got this matchup, and so Fallon ripped off the padding of the turnbuckle, and I was just like, I mean, okay, I guess. I do think it showed Fallon well. I guess she did do a lot of like hard hitting, and that was cool. Um, I guess we'll see how they're gonna do with them being kind of like feuding now. Again, she could be somebody that also be the the North American champion. It's very possible, and so I don't know if this is why they kind of went this way with her, but maybe her being a heel would work in her will work in her favor. She did basically send Kalani into the exposed steel turnbuckle, and then she did her Shining Wizard to win this matchup. And so I do think some of it felt a little flat, and it's mostly just there were things that could have been just tweaked a little tad, just a tad. But it wasn't bad for what it was. She definitely was very aggressive, even with her knocking like Kalani into the like head first into the top rope. So she kind of came out really aggressive. And again, maybe this is what she needed to get on my nerves a little less because she still gets on my nerves. She's still getting on my nerves, and so maybe this would be what she needs to get on my nerves a little less. Because Fallon sometimes is really annoying. Now, maybe if she does more heel work and she's not minded, maybe this is the business she needs to mind. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to get angry. And now we're at heel. And that's fine. Just mind your business. You know, if this is what you're going to do to keep yourself out of somebody else's nonsense, then do you. Have fun. Be a heel. But yeah, that wasn't a bad match for what we got. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
I really like this match. I feel like they have really good chemistry, and I feel like if they're given a good amount of time, they could really produce a really, really great match. Like, I think Kelani has just, she's like leaps and bounds ahead of her time. And Fallon, she's always been really good in the ring, honestly. Like, that's one thing I can never take from her. Whether the yeehaws was getting to me or not, I can never take away her in-ring ability. So I did enjoy this match, honestly. And I do like this new side of Fallon. I think that it was so necessary. I feel like the overbearing friend who gets involved in everyone's business was just not working for me. And that's no real character, even so. On top of that, it's just you being in people's business. That's not a character or anything for me to really grasp onto as a fan. It's just you being nosy, and I don't like it. So her now making this change, I feel like it's going to be for the best, 100%. I think it was necessary. I'm surprised they didn't really kind of like have her and Josh be a thing. They really have just separated them people. Everybody's in a different corner. I don't know where the hell Jensen is though, and it's troubling to me. But I really I enjoyed this match. I really did. And I'm excited to see where things go with Fallon. I mean, I could see her definitely being a contender for the North American title, for sure, with Michin.
Yeah, no, I see it. Like I said, no, I do. This is something that if they do it right, it could be a good feud. All right, but they have to do it right. I do think like NXT sometimes do things really well, and sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure of the decision here. And so, to be fair, like Brooks Jensen, he was having a time previously. He was having a time. He was enjoying himself, and then they ruined it. So I wouldn't say necessarily they was holding him back first. If he's holding him back now, but that's what they deserve because he was trying to have a good time. He's trying to have a vibe with Kiana, and it was like no, boo, and look what happened. And so if now he's holding people back, well, maybe they should have let him get his time, and they could have minded their business, and they could have been better. They could have been further along. That sounds like a personal choice, personally.
Think about it this way. I just want to put this out there. Think about it this way. They were so busy minding Kiana's business that they wasn't keeping their eye on the prize. Now they want to keep their eye on the prize. Look who got drafted because you wasn't keeping your eye on the prize.
Yep. Here we are. Exactly. Kiana did get drafted. She did get drafted. So, yeah. So this now brings us to our match between Duke Hudson versus Alexis King. And so before this matchup started, Rich Holland, who I didn't ask for, but here we are again, was listening to Thea once again complain about, stuff backstage. And he seemed okay with Chase U, but then Alexis King kind of messed up the moment, which kind of set up for the matchup. Jasmine Nyx did warn Thea that she was going to come for her for breaking JC James' nose. It was like, blah, blah, blah. And it seemed like during this matchup, Alexis was more focused on Thea rather than Duke, which was kind of weird. He was like taunting her outside. I'm like, my God, maybe pay attention to the match. But, this is a matchup I feel like you can't really expect too much right now from Alexis King's matches. Not that he wasn't, good in the match because he was. It just like you feel like with Alexis King match, you kind of know what to expect now, and that's the problem. And it's never things that kind of like, okay, this surprised me, and this is unfortunate. And it wasn't that long of a match either. But you know, in the process of Ridge trying to stop Lexus from basically being Thea's face, he will hit Duke with his coronation to win after basically being distracted. Uh, and this is just how he's been winning his matches recently. Unfortunately, hopefully this they can do well enough that they can put him where they build him momentum wise. I feel like he's been lost a bit in the shuffle since he kind of came. He's been a bit lost in this, so hopefully that'll help. And it seems like they're gonna have Rich working with Chishu, which I'm not sure how well that's going to be. And then Rich did apologize backstage afterwards to Chishu and said he'll like earn their trust or whatever. And so, whatever. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, mm, maybe if they had a better idea of his character, maybe. But I feel like because I feel like they've been too like how he's gonna win a match, but that's as far as we know. He's gonna try to talk some shit, but that's as far as we know. But like you got to give us a little bit more. And I feel like right now he's been at that place of. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. I feel like I wouldn't have minded it if this was a few months ago because I felt like. I mean, maybe she will, but I'm just tired of her complaining. I want to tell her to get a therapist. I feel like I'm about 2 seconds from tweeting her, girl, go to therapy. If you gotta complain every week, you haven't let it go yet. Just let it go, Thea. You're a little too much. You're starting to be up there with the foul annoyance. Okay, starting to be a little annoyed. Starting to be a little annoyed with how she's being extra dramatic. But what were your thoughts on this matchup?
I feel like they had some moments of it. They had explosive moments, but it's not like a crazy match that I'm like, we got to go back to this match, guys. If you didn't see it, you ain't not living right. No, it's not gonna be like that. But I do see some progress with Lexus, and honestly, his finisher is growing on me. I'm gonna say that. I don't know what it was. I don't know how it was that Duke took it that just made me like it so much tonight, but it was working for me. The funniest part of the match was when Duke chopped Lexus and then he turned around and looked at Thea and said, "This is your fault." Like, I'm sorry, like mid-match, like you get chopped and the first thing you do is look at like, "This is your fault." Honestly, that's so me coded. I'd probably do the same thing. I feel like this whole storyline is like it gives very much high school. Like there's always that girl, the quirky, weird girl who has a crush on the one guy who's actually a nice guy, but the dumb jock guy keeps picking on her, and the reason he keeps picking on her is because he actually likes her. This is the story. This is what's going on. Lexus is a great talker, and he's a great heel. He's great at making you annoyed. So that's why I really like him. But yeah, no, I do agree with the things you were saying, but I'm hoping things shift because I do think that Lexus has a lot of potential. I just see it. I feel it in my bones, okay? I feel it in my bones and I'm not gonna give up. I'm not done. I'm not ready to quit you. Not yet. So, and Ridge, oh my God, Thea, somebody needs to help Thea because if it's one thing she's gonna do, she's gonna find the worst person to get advice from every time. She almost drove Andre to alcoholism with her last person she went out to get some advice from, and now here she goes again getting advice from Ridge. And already we're seeing the fruits of her labor. He already done cost Duke a match. Who asked you to come out? What is going on with him? I genuinely believe, and there's not a soul on this planet that can make me feel differently. He did it on purpose, and there's a plan. There's something going on with Ridge. I'm on to you, Sir Ridge. I'm on to you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Rich might be more annoying. That might be the reason, to be fair. Like, you got somebody like Rich who's just irking your soul. So easy to kind of like, this person's not that bad right now, this now leads us to our final match of the night, which is a women's match between Roxanne Perez, NXT champion, versus Chelsea Green. And so, in the interview, Roxanne basically said she was going to make this title defense all about her. And in the very beginning, Chelsea almost like took a win with like she did like an arm trap roll up, and I was like, okay, all right, okay, Chelsea. But I thought this was, well done. Chelsea Green, you expect Chelsea Green to give a lot of shenanigans, and she did that. You expect her to try to be crafty, and she did that. And because people don't really like Roxanne, and not like in a bad way, just because she is a heel, it felt like even though Chelsea Green is also a heel, it worked out in her favor. That it seemed like the audience was behind Chelsea in this regard, because they just are not with Roxanne in the moment. And so it was nice, to kind of see her do a title matchup, and she definitely, looked like she may need to stay in NXT. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just some people seem that they work better, and I feel like this seems to work better for her. I am not going to pretend to be a Chelsea Green fan. I am not. Never have been. But I can, say, oh, well, I know this person does this or this person does that, and it works. And it worked. I do think it felt like she, was definitely part of the match. And even with, her doing what she was doing, Roxanne was basically able to kind of get out of that. She did, like, Roxanne got a lot in, and then Chelsea was able to kind of do some stuff, and even did the Rough Rider for Zack Ryder, or as you guys know him as Pat Cardona. And she did that as a little like thing to him, and I was like, all right, girly. And Roxanne will counter the Unprettier, and then Chelsea would then counter the Pop Rocks, and they kind of basically did the pinfall things for both times, basically almost getting to the 3 count, but not getting it. But Roxanne, as I figured she would, will definitely retain by doing her Pop Rocks to retain the NXT Women's Championship. But I do think, this was a very solid match between them. And I do think like this, if anything, this showed why, Roxanne possibly moving up at some point in the future. But also maybe possibly saying that Chelsea can probably benefit from being an NXT for a bit. Just not in any way, but simply it seems like she does well with that audience. Um, I didn't bully anyone today, but I can. Um, but I thought it was a good match. I thought they both ladies did well. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
This was my match of the night. They really, like, honestly, I'm used to it with Roxanne. I'm used to it. But I feel like a lot of times, as you said, like Chelsea can get lost in the funny character, similar to like Ariana Grace. But tonight, for me, this was like one of the best matches I've ever seen from her. She was just locked in, and for a good portion, I feel like she was controlling the match. Honestly, I was so pleased with this, and I do hope she stays in NXT for a little bit. I mean, she cannot, you do that right now, but just stay around for a little bit. It's all right. Just hang out a bit, and form a team with Ariana Grace. Please do it. I also loved when they had her kind of walk up to Robert Stone. We do remember that history, and I think that they would be a great fit. That you were putting him back with Joy the Sea. I feel like they really are just like giving Roxanne opponents, holding her off until Julia gets there. And I think this was a perfect time for them to input a secondary title for the women, because as much as sometimes I'm like, when Roxanne's going against someone, I'm like, is it for God's sakes, this internet. I feel like sometimes with Roxanne, when she goes against certain people, I'm just like, I don't believe this person can beat them. With Julia, I even less will believe half of the roster will be able to beat her. So having a secondary women's title is just perfect for right now, for what's about to happen, the way things are about to shake up for these women, honestly. So yeah, fun match, loved it.
Yeah, no, definitely. we'll see how this goes. Like I said, I think Julia, it has to be done right. I don't want it again. I get it, but it's like we know who she is. Other people don't know who she is. Um, and I don't want it to be one of the situations. It's like, okay, this is going to be handed to her because she's who she is, and I'm funny about that kind of thing personally. But we'll see how that works. But again, I do agree that this was a really really solid matchup between the girls, and so that would lead us to the end of our NXT recap for this week. Uh, we want to thank you guys as always for hanging out with us and supporting us. And don't forget to check out Slam Chat to support everybody's favorite duo. That is me and Shay. Definitely, yeah, I know, but you're forgetting this is wrestling fans. George had to pause for a second. Wrestling fans are weird. And so while we I do not want it to be her getting a title right away. I would rather see her actually work. And my reasoning is because where she comes from, a lot of American wrestling fans are not fans of that style of wrestling. I am. And so you don't want to mess it up before she actually get a chance to really get on it. Get on it. Um, but yeah, back to it. The end. Thank you guys for supporting us as always. Definitely check out and support us via Slam chats to make sure you support everybody's favorite duo. It's us. But Shay, tell everybody what you got going on and where they can find you.
You can find me at Shay Sawyer _ on Instagram. You can find me at that same on Threads and only Threads. You can also find me on Twitch. I will be resuming streaming soon. I finally got my banner, and that's just straight up Shay Sawyer. And you can catch a new episode of the Big Pop Theory podcast that just dropped yesterday. It is on all platforms you would think where you can listen to podcastery. So you know this.
As for me, just follow me on social media at Cat We Trust. I am in Cat We Trust everywhere, but everything is an E instead of a 3. Excuse me, it's a 3 instead of an E in every place but YouTube and Facebook. Everything else, the E is a 3. Definitely just keep up with that. I do have a show with Stephanie tomorrow. For a while, catching up 2 weeks. It's been a little bit. It's been a little bit. And obviously every Tuesday here at Body Slam to check out me and Shay's Meta-Two NXT recap, and just keep up with regards to my channel to see how much new videos, new interviews, and possibly some gaming clips. Possibly. I'm gonna try to get better with this, guys. I'm gonna try better. But as always, we do love and appreciate you guys for being awesome. I want to talk about nothing. 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 As the clip I shared on my Instagram earlier today, and I saw it thanks to you, Shay, because I was like, yes, felt hard, I felt that in my soul. I was like, yes, yes. But as always, guys, we do love you guys. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Just remember, we will see you guys in 2 weeks because life sometimes. So we see you guys in 2 weeks. But until then, we will catch you guys later. Bye, guys.